Welcome to IB Today podcast. Let's talk. This is your host Muhammad Affan. Today we are doing a special episode regarding credit financing and exit in startups. तो इसके लिए हमने एक अपने startup founder को बुलाया है and that person is Naureen. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Naureen Hyat. I am now the CEO of Zoodpay and co-founder of TEZ Financial Services.
Right, Naureen. So let's start with your background. How did you come into this credit financing sector and how did it come about? And now you are leading Zoodpay.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Actually, मैं देखूँ तो this journey actually started somewhere back in 2011-12. So my the first job that I started was in credit ratings. और वो in Pakra, yes, so Pakistan Credit Rating Agency. And वहाँ, I happened to be a specialist amongst other sectors, a specialist for the microfinance sector. अब microfinance जो है काफ़ी interesting sector है if you dwell deeper into it. So the sector was actually created, it was in the 2000s for poverty alleviation. इसका मकसद था.
अब exist करता है?
Of course करता है. And ये सारा field level ज़्यादा institutions, आपके बहुत सारे इदारे हैं microfinance institutions और banks भी हैं that are working solely for the purpose of poverty alleviation. And usme, a lot of these institutions were criticized for having very high interest rates. A problem ye hai ki ye jo idare hain, they only go and serve, areas where otherwise financial penetration is very low. आपके rural areas हैं, आपके वो customer segments हैं जिनको banks, they won't even consider them. Why? Because इन लोगों की ना credit histories होती हैं, they do not have suitable collaterals, या उनके पास data available नहीं है कि banks इनको समझ सकें उनकी credit profiles को. So the microfinance sector actually used to go on the field and वहाँ जाके वो assess करते हैं उनको. And there actually people involved from the field offices, उन्हीं areas के होते हैं जो actually engage होते हैं इस process में. बट करते करते जो प्रोसेसेस होते हैं ऑपरेशनल एक्सपेंसेस बहुत हाई हो जाते हैं एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स दीज कस्टमर्स आर हाई रिस्क सो देयर इज अ हायर क्रेडिट रिस्क एलिमेंट इन्वॉल्व्ड. उसके अलावा इंस्टीट्यूशंस को इनिशियली तो मिलती थी PPAF से एक लाइन मिलती थी सब्सिडाइज रेट्स पे, बट इनके लिए फंड रेज करना भी आसान नहीं है और था उस जमाने में.
कभी भी नहीं होगा.
हाँ बिल्कुल. और डिपॉजिट्स मोस्ट ऑफ दीज ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस कुड नॉट रेज डिपॉजिट्स. सो the costs of lending were very high, which is why they had to pass on those costs to the customers. So वो इसीलिए customers को unfortunately जब higher pay करना पड़ा, we thought कि यार क्या किया जा सकता है सेक्टर के लिए कि आप एक तो बहुत जल्दी एक तो कस्टमर्स को आप फाइनेंस प्रोवाइड कर सकें और एट सब्सिडाइज लोअर रेट्स जो सस्टेनेबल भी हों. So at that time, my co-founder TEZ, Hamza, वो भी Pakra में काम करते थे, and both of us, were studying the sector, and we were fortunate enough, to having been engaged in some ground level.
अच्छा, this was in Lahore or?
This was in Lahore.
अच्छा.
And बस फिर वहाँ से we decided कि यार हम अपनी खुद एक कंपनी क्रिएट करेंगे, एक टेक्नोलॉजी बनाएंगे जो इस सारे क्रेडिट डिस्बर्समेंट प्रोसेस को ऑटोमेट कर सके. And that's when we came up with our first startup. ये है 2014 की बात है ये.
अच्छा.
And at that time, हमें कुछ पता नहीं था स्टार्टअप क्या होता है. What are the intricacies of it? Company setup करनी है. There's so many different aspects involved. बैंक अकाउंट खोलना है, छोटी छोटी चीज़ें इतनी बड़ी बड़ी चीज़ें भी बहुत होती हैं. So that startup was called Check-in Solutions. और वहाँ हमने एक डिजिटल फील्ड एप्लीकेशन बनाई टू ऑटोमेट दिस एंटायर क्रेडिट डिस्बर्समेंट प्रोसेस. एंड हमने यार वी ट्राइड टू वी एक्चुअली अप्रोच ऑलमोस्ट एवरी MFI MFB इन पाकिस्तान. हमें बहुत पॉजिटिव रिस्पॉन्स इस तरह से मिला कि एवरीवन सेड दिस इज अ ग्रेट सोल्यूशन, वी वुड वांट इट. बट 2014-15 में उस वक्त जो इदारे थे, न्यू रेगुलेशन हैड बीन पास्ड where MFIs were going through a licensing regime. उससे पहले वो लाइसेंस नहीं थे.
So अच्छा, पहले बता दे MFI क्या होता है.
MFI होता है माइक्रो फाइनेंस इंस्टीट्यूशन और MFB होता है माइक्रो फाइनेंस बैंक. So I might be using those terms a lot. So वो फिर either they were busy in getting the systems ready or going through the transformation processes, और इस वक्त उनके पास बजट्स भी नहीं होते थे टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए, फोकस ही नहीं था. तो हमने कहा ये तो बड़ा काम करना पड़ेगा। अब ये उस वक्त जब हमने कहा चलो हम काम ही करते हैं कि we'll get in touch with नदीम साहब। नदीम हुसैन साहब he's a pioneer in microfinance. उन्होंने तामीर माइक्रो फाइनेंस बैंक बनाया, इजी पैसा, he founded. And this was the time he was exiting Tamir Bank. So,
he sold it, right, to
yes,
Easy Paisa,
to Telenor. Easy Paisa is a product. So Telenor को उन्होंने वो वहाँ he sold it. So I actually messaged him on LinkedIn. हमसे ने कहा ये तो रिप्लाई नहीं करेंगे, तुम कोशिश कर लो. He literally replied in 15 minutes. ये मेरे वाला रिप्लाई नहीं है जो बहुत लंबे रिप्लाईज होते हैं ना. But he replied in 15 minutes and we actually
आपका रिप्लाई तेज हो गया.
तेज के बाद तेज हो गया. So उन्होंने फिर he said कि this is exciting, let's meet. उन्होंने फिर हमें गाइड किया, उन्होंने कहा तुम लोग देखो. But he thought we were a little ahead of our times and that the institutions were not ready to embrace technology. So he was very kind enough to create those linkages. But unfortunately, I think we were a little ahead of our times then. So he said, yeah, the way to do this is actually if we create our own financial institution and we do it ourselves. So that's when we joined hands to create TEZ. And TEZ then became the first licensed NBFC to have a digital lending license. Well, digital lending का कोई license separate नहीं है, but we became the first licensed fintech for lending.
So is it the same as neobank?
Yeah, neobank क्या होता है? As in, so what?
Digital bank.
हाँ, मतलब so digital banking के अंदर बहुत सारी चीज़ें आ जाती हैं. आप उसमें क्रेडिट भी ला सकते हैं, उसमें सेविंग्स भी आ जाती हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स भी होती हैं, इंश्योरेंस, बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट्स आ सकते हैं. और TEZ का जो पहले विजन था वो यही था दैट विल बी अ फुल स्टैक नियो बैंक. हमने कहा कि चलो हम शुरू करते हैं. सो देयर वर लॉट्स ऑफ फेजेस टू इट. उसमें हमने क्रेडिट, सेविंग्स, इंश्योरेंस, इन्वेस्टमेंट सबका प्लान था. यहाँ तक कि हमने अपना क्रेडिट तो लॉन्च किया, बीच में हमने इंश्योरेंस भी लॉन्च किया था जब कोविड शुरू हुआ. हमने सेविंग्स के प्रोडक्ट्स भी बनाए. पर
अब ये 2014 के बाद, उसके
बाद अब जब स्टेज शुरू हुआ 2017, so towards the end of 2017 when we actually the work started on it. हमें हमारा लाइसेंस 2018 में मिला. And then we gave out our first loan in January 2018. And so TEZ की क्या खास बात थी that we give out loans to customers through a smartphone without having any credit credit history.
मतलब इससे लग रहा है आपका बहुत बैड डेट है.
नहीं, अब मैं वो भी बताती हूँ. वो बहुत एक्साइटिंग जर्नी थी. हम लोगों ने यार कस्टमर्स को सर्व किया. सो व्हाट वी डिड वाज सबसे बड़ा ब्रेक तो ये था दैट वी वर गिविंग आउट लोन्स within under 10 minutes for new users, under 2 minutes for a repeat customer. Literally real time में उनके wallets में पैसे होते थे. So this is how fast we were going. And how we were assessing customers was through their smartphones. तो smartphone जो है आपका, it's आप अगर आप you live with a smartphone, it has it has your entire profile ना उसी के अंदर. आप सोते वक्त भी साथ रखे होते हैं ना. So it has proxies on financial behavior, on on your social patterns, on your behavioral patterns, geographic data. इसमें हर तरह का data मिलता है. And that's when we created our algorithms to assess that data and assess credit profiles. And हाँ, शुरू में defaults बहुत high थे जब हमारे algorithms learn कर रहे थे. शुरू में तो हम algorithms के बगैर we went in. Then our business tools came into place. And algorithms जब हमारे in place आए, शुरू में हमारे defaults were north of 50%. But that was gold for us because जितनी learning हमारी उस process में हुई कि यार आपने customer को आप एक तो ये कि फ्रॉड कैसे मैनेज करना है. आईडी फ्रॉड बहुत ज़्यादा आता था. आपने किस कस्टमर को किस तरह का प्रोडक्ट देना है, कस्टमर जर्नी कैसे होनी चाहिए. सिर्फ बात लोन देने की नहीं है. इट्स द एंटायर प्रोसेस राइट ऑफ हाउ द लोन इज गिवन आउट, हाउ व्हाट द प्रोडक्ट इज, हाउ द लोन इज गिवन आउट टिल द पोस्ट डिस्पर्समेंट जर्नी ऑल्सो. क्योंकि कस्टमर कई दफ़ा अच्छे कस्टमर्स कैन ऑल्सो टर्न रोग अगर उनका एक्सपीरियंस कस्टमर सपोर्ट के साथ फॉर एग्जाम्पल अच्छा ना हो. So आपकी end तक it's not only high tech, there has to be high touch with it, and that's what we try to balance with this. And जब हमने till the acquisition happened, हमारा जो portfolio जो close हुआ, our last cohort was of default was under 3%. So I think we did a lot of work. It was a very exciting journey.
मतलब like how did आपने नदीम साहब की बात की कि मतलब even नदीम साहब I talk he is also the board of directors at IBA as well and उनका आप Planet N का क्या आपका रोल था आपके नज़र में कि मतलब how did Planet N help you up in building TEZ?
बिल्कुल यार, so Planet N का बहुत important रोल था. नदीम साहब तो he's
co-founder है
of course co-founder है, but so I think Nadeem Saab, he needs no introduction, but we were the first fintech to get an NBFC license, वो भी lending के लिए. So उनकी बहुत support थी in opening doors, in helping us with the regulator, in helping us with finding different partners. Of course, उनकी he has, everyone has high respect and high regard for him. उनकी credibility है for all the work that he's done. So of course learnings बहुत थी उनके साथ. It was a great experience working with him. One learned a lot about how a team works. And सबसे बड़ी बात नदीम साहब की है कि despite the fact that the experience that he has, he gives you room to learn, he gives you room to grow, and he gives you room to make your mistakes. So I think वो बहुत बड़ी चीज़ होती है. So we actually had a great time working with him. So Planet N ने हमें, of course they were the early investors in TEZ. Other than these linkages and these doors that they opened for us, but we also then got we raised funding from two other investors, जो the US based. एक का नाम है Axion is the largest microfinance funder in the world, and दूसरे हैं उम्मीदिया नेटवर्क, अब उनका नाम Flourish Ventures हो गया. So they're the largest impact investor in the world. So we were their first investments in Pakistan. So it was they also brought in a lot of support. उनका experience बहुत था उससे. मतलब
आप लोग basically now we see a lot of fintech companies right now in Pakistan. मगर TEZ was back then, मतलब back when there were no fintech startups. तो मतलब नदीम साहब उस वक्त सोच रहे थे उस वक्त fintech startups का after Tamir Micro. So मतलब that being pioneers at this point, and up now VC funding is being flooded in Pakistan. Okay, why did you decide to sell now, and why Zoodpay?
अच्छा, so यार ये to be honest, this is a question that people often ask now.
Well, I wouldn't want you to exit.
नहीं यार, I think so मजे की बात ये है कि we never had an exit plan as founders. Like Nadeem साहब as an investor उनका जरूर होगा, but I know Hamza and myself, we exit हमारे दिमाग में कभी नहीं था till very recently, and we were literally we were euphoric about what we were building. तो हमारे लिए even when we started मकसद किस लिए तेज जिसलिए खड़ा किया गया था, और अभी भी वो मकसद that's been very close to our hearts. And honestly we never felt this was actually work that we were doing. It was really a purpose that was driving us every day. So exit का plan इस तरह से we never thought कि यार हमने IPO करना है या हमने सेल करनी है, एक्विजिशन करनी है. The drive was always to take this to higher heights. To take to a position where it could scale. And scale से पहले I think बहुत सारे जो founders हैं, unfortunately I think, and I feel it's mostly VC driven ambitions, कि आप बहुत focus कर रहे होते हैं, like it's unsustainable levels of growth. So वो लेकिन growth अच्छी चीज़ है as long as it's sustainable and as long as it's based on fundamentals that are strong, that are steady. अगर आपके fundamentals ही नहीं हैं और आप बस अपना top line बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो फिर it's not going to be sustainable ever, So हमारे लिए वो कभी focus नहीं था. हमारे लिए focus था कि हम sustainably with our fundamentals in place grow करें. So the exit actually happened. It was, I think, a very serendipitous story of how that also happened. So I think COVID के बाद चीज़ें बहुत change हुई हमारे लिए. And that's when we got offers. Zoodpay was one of them. We had other offers on the table as well, where people started showing us interest in what we had built. So they saw value in it. And कुछ strategic conversations भी थी, जहाँ we thought कि TEZ could actually become a part of those bigger ecosystems, and maybe जो अकेले हम चीज़ें नहीं कर सकते थे, as a part of those larger entities and those larger ecosystems, TEZ could actually become that propeller to enhance those businesses as well. So वो conversation and वो thought process वहाँ से शुरू हुआ. And I think we were very lucky. Zood के साथ जो conversations हुई हमारी, this was उनकी so they approached us in 2019, not for an acquisition, but also they wanted to to partner with us. They were looking for for credit partnerships in Pakistan. And I think they also grew very fast in the area. They're in 6 countries.
So they're Swiss based.
They're Swiss headquartered, but their operations are in frontier markets. So इसमें you've got Uzbekistan, Jordan, Lebanon, Kazakhstan, Iraq. ये सारे frontier markets में they operate. So in a lot of ways very similar to Pakistan as well in how the economics work and how the customer segments work.
बड़ा रिस्क होता है वैसे frontier markets.
बहुत रिस्क होता है.
When you think about airlift, मेरे ख्याल से आप हर कोई रिस्क ही नहीं लगता आपको. What do you feel?
नहीं यार, I think
मतलब airlift के बाद ही आपने बेचा है?
नहीं, we
मतलब discussions I think 6 months.
हमारी discussions हो रही थी 2021 में. So
COVID के बाद.
हाँ, 2021 में conversations हमारी शुरू हो गई थी acquisition की. And we announced our acquisition in May. Was it May? Yeah, I think we announced it in May. अभी इस साल. But honestly, इसका airlift से कोई मतलब airlift या कोई भी संगी और कंपनी से कोई ताल्लुक नहीं था.
You just felt it was the right time.
देखो, I think ये गलती होती है. ये founders, I think they actually fell into the trap of wanting to do things that are being done in the ecosystem. वो मुश्किल होता है अपने आप को रोकना. It's like that fear of that FOMO. यार, we are missing out on something. It can be very difficult to do that, but I think it's important. अपने आप को, you need to shield yourself from the fluff in the market, I guess. So
right. So before we move on to the next questions, let's start with our rapid fire round. And I just want one word from each thing that I said. ठीक है. Nadeem Hussain.
Mentor.
अच्छा. TEZ Financials.
Purpose.
ठीक है. Financial institutions.
Oh.
वैसे अभी वाले मतलब traditional financial institution.
Need to grow faster.
अच्छा, ठीक है then.
One word था लेकिन वो रह गया. Okay.
Right. ठीक है. I think let's move on. हम बात करते हैं. You have played a strong role in बात करने के women should be more in management roles and tech roles. So why do you feel कि यार you have to be that advocate in the industry, because you being the pioneer in the fintech startups, why do you feel कि women needs to be in the management roles, और इस तरह किस तरह impact आ सकता है institutions पे in general?
Yeah, I see. I think, and I don't have to reiterate this or reinforce this because studies भी हुई हैं. See, I think women bring very different perspectives into any capacity that they're working in or otherwise performing in, and I see that whether they're in management roles or they're in board level roles or even in otherwise operational roles, they bring in perspectives that could be different. From maybe the male counterparts, and वो perspective important है, because I think I feel औरतों में बहुत emotional EQ का जो level है वो usually, and I don't want to stereotype, but can be higher than men. So एक तो I think that's one advantage they can bring to the organizations. But also यार, I think सबसे important चीज़ ये है कि women drive the generations of today and tomorrow, and they will drive the generations. They're actually 50% of your population. Also, if the reason being कि अगर आप इनको bifurcate कर रहे हैं for any role, आपकी economy के लिए they play a huge role. So मेरे लिए कहना कि यार, it's unfortunate कि in a lot of countries like Pakistan, female representation बहुत low है. Many times it's difficult for them because they have to lead families, and it's difficult. बहुत औरतों को family support नहीं मिलती. कई दफ़ा well, now we do see a lot of conversations happening where companies are trying to support women, but at the end of the day, a lot of women are undermined for their opinions as well. So I think उनकी opinions and उनकी credibility की value भी नहीं की जाती. So that's something that it's high time that perspective changes. And we see some amazing women working in senior positions, all sorts of roles, doing very well. A lot in Pakistan, a lot outside of Pakistan, and there is no reason for them not to be a part of the ecosystem or any industry for that.
So Naureen, it's towards the end of the thing. I just wanted to ask you, कि यार अब after Zoodpay's acquisition, what's the plan for Zoodpay in Pakistan? के मतलब what do you see now after the acquisition?
So the acquisition सबसे बड़ी जो चीज़ हमारे लिए,
आपने बताया नहीं आपका acquisition कितने का हुआ है?
वो तो मैं शेयर भी नहीं कर सकती. We have certain confidentiality requirements from investors, तो वो मैं शेयर नहीं कर सकूंगी. But चलो अच्छा है ना, हाइप क्रिएट रहे. But that said, so Zoodpay, सबसे बड़ी चीज़ ये थी कि they retain the entire team. So all of us are continuing with them, and we'll be building the operations in Pakistan and also working with them in other countries that they are operating in. In Pakistan, Zoodpay का जो so Zoodpay is a digital lending platform for e-commerce. और इसका मतलब ये है कि so BNPL is not really the core, it's a part of it, but it's important to make sure कि
अच्छा BNPL में लोगों को बता दूं, it's buy now pay later वाला concept है, right?
बिल्कुल, but it's important to make sure कि हम एक BNPL player नहीं है. We are an ecosystem for lending, and इसमें हमारे सेंटर में है the online merchant, उसकी हम both supply और डिमांड को हम फुलफिल करना चाहते हैं. सो 3 पिलर्स हैं जिसके ऊपर ये इकोसिस्टम ले करता है. पहला है आपका ई-कॉमर्स, जिसमें हमारी अपनी मार्केट प्लेस है. दैट्स ऑलरेडी ऑपरेशनल इन ऑल अदर कंट्रीज दैट दे आर वर्किंग इन, एंड सून इन पाकिस्तान एज वेल. फिर है ई लॉजिस्टिक्स में फुलफिलमेंट आती है, आपकी लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी आती है. वो सारे हमारा इकोसिस्टम इज ऑल्सो रेडी. एंड देन देयर इज फिनटेक व्हिच इज वेयर द लेंडिंग कम्स इन. सो इन सारे पिलर्स के बेस के ऊपर हम अपनी सारी लेंडिंग करते हैं, सो दैट वी हैव फुल कंट्रोल ओवर द एंटायर लेंडिंग जर्नी. अब फॉर एग्जांपल जो ऑनलाइन मर्चेंट SME है, उनको हम SME इन्वेंट्री फाइनेंसिंग और बाकी फाइनेंसिंग फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं,
जैसे वर्किंग फाइनेंस. बिल्कुल.
सो दैट्स आल्सो गोइंग टू बी वन ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट्स दैट वी हैव, बट वी विल बी लॉन्चिंग विद SME इन्वेंट्री फाइनेंसिंग, जहां इन्वेंट्री के अगेंस्ट हम लेंडिंग करेंगे, एंड दिस इज गोइंग टू बी शरिया कंप्लायंट.
पहले भी शरिया कंप्लायंट ही आप करते थे तेज में?
पहले तेज शरिया कंप्लायंट नहीं था, वो कैश लोन्स थे, प्योर कैश लोन्स दैट वी वर गिविंग आउट. दिस इज प्रोडक्ट बैक लेंडिंग दैट वी डू नाउ. एंड अब जो दूसरी साइड है, which is to actually be more of a customer acquisition tool and propel traffic, that's where we lend to the customer. So वहाँ BNPL in play आता है. So it's literally this entire ecosystem that we're working on with Zoodpay over here in Pakistan now.
ठीक है Naureen, thank you for sharing with us insight about Zoodpay and the acquisition itself. I had that wonderful conversation. I was chasing you after for 3 years for this conversation, but having you at the right time after the acquisition is a good thing, and I wish you well with all the future endeavors with Zoodpay and with your whatever endeavors that you have in the future. Thank you for coming. I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I did, and I hope you continue to share and comment and like with all your feedback, so that we could continue to bring in these guests and we could do this productive and constructive conversations with the audience as well the guests. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.